Call Nikki Wagner.
Mr. Speaker.
I'll just make a point. Sorry to interrupt. I take it the Greens weren't taking the balance of their 5-minute call. It's a 10-minute call, Nikki Wagner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's my great pleasure to talk to this Waitaki District Council Reserves and Other Land Empowerment Bill. And I'd like to thank Jackie Dean for bringing it to the House. It's been a really interesting bill because it's become a bit of a historical whodunit. As we've heard from many of the speakers here tonight, the bill originally focused on 3 pieces of land, 3 pieces of property in the Oamaru area. There was little debate about the first 2 pieces. There was very little debate about the Palmerston Showgrounds, and that's Palmerston and Otago, or about Lot 1 DP 345820, which is actually in Oamaru. And the reason that there was no debate was both Ngāi and the Department of the Conservation agreed with the councils and their proposed actions, and there was no opposition and no submitters on the bill. So those 2 pieces of land were very easily and quickly dealt with. But the status of Lookout Point, which is also known as Forester Heights, is a totally different matter. It was a particularly interesting piece of land, a beautiful piece of land, a piece of land that the people of Oamaru have used for a long time and have regarded as a reserve. And at first glance of the documentation, it seemed to have changed description several times over the years. And indeed, there has been many twists and turns in how the property has been recorded, and hence the question over the final status. And the people of Oamaru have been dealing with this issue for a long time, and I thought it was interesting to note that it has come to the House before, it has been discussed, but we've never been able to get a solution. And so we were very keen to be able to work our way through this process. And it has been fascinating trying to untangle the various iterations. And I would like to thank the submitters who came to us for their interest and for the documentation that they produced. There was a lot of detailed information, and it was very interesting to us. The Select Committee was very conscious that we had to get this right. You don't want to carry on with another era and keep this going on and on. You want to make a final decision. So we were very sure that we had to get to the bottom of it and get it right. Because I think that regardless of the official status, this land has been considered by the people of Oamaru as a reserve, as a public place for many years. And it was interesting to see Eugenie Sage's photographs of Arbor Day. The people of Oamaru have gone there and planted it over the years. Now, I'd like to compliment our advisors. They did an excellent and thorough job researching the history of Lookout Point and establishing its status. Now, it was originally put aside in 1885 by order in council as endowment land. It was reserved as endowment land to fund the Oamaru Borough Council. And I think that's where the confusion has come about the name of reserve. It was reserved, it was put aside as endowment land, but the word reserve has been used in a much wider sense, and the people of Oamaru have seen it as a reserve. We went back to our advisors and we said we need to have a detailed background to that. So they went back to their books and they searched high and low. And although there has been many changes, they went through each of the changes as they were recorded. And the status of the land has never formally been changed. Although there was many changes in how it was recorded, the way it went through the process, it was never formally changed. Our advisors told us that. Land Information agreed to that. The Department of Conservation agreed to that. And Ngāi agreed to that. But understanding the level of controversy over the land in the community, the Select Committee checked again and double-checked and checked again, and we are convinced that despite the recording errors, the status of the land is still as originally set aside, reserved in 1885 by order in council for the purposes of endowment to aid the funds of the Oamaru Borough Council, which now of course is the Waitaki District Council. The committee tried to make this very clear in our report, so we were very disappointed to read the headline in the Otago Daily Times, which said, "Forester Heights, status likely to change." Obviously, it missed the whole point of the report and the nuances behind it, and they commented that the reserve land status of land at Foresters Heights at Oamaru is almost certain to be revoked after a Parliamentary Select Committee report agreed that its status should be changed. Well, I have to say to the Otago Daily Times, that is not right. The status of the land has never officially changed, which just goes to show you can't believe everything you read in the newspapers. So remember that. Now, the issue is a motive, and there has been a lot of confusion surrounding the land. And you can see that the newspaper has mixed up the purpose of the bill, because what it's ended up doing is focusing on the public's desire to use and enjoy the reserve land. Now, that's not relevant to this bill. Now, we all understand that people like reserve land, that people like green space in their community. And I do have to agree with Phil Twyford that although people enjoy that, this is to do with local decision making, nothing to do with the bill at all. Unfortunately, I don't agree with all Mr. Twyford says, but in this case, I think he made a very valid point. So everybody does understand that local people want to enjoy their ongoing use of reserve land, but our job was not to decide whether this was reserve land or not. It was to clarify the status and the historical background, and that's what we did. What happens now to that land must be a local decision, and then people must talk to their council about that. It has nothing to do with us. Our job is to clarify the status. This is endowment land. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It is not a reserve. The confusion, I think, has been about the fact it was reserved as endowment land, but I think we can be very clear, and the committee was sure. I'd like to thank Jackie Dean for sponsoring this bill. I think she's done a really good job. It has been a difficult time, and there has been a lot of controversy in the community. I'd like to thank the advisors for their detailed, careful and thorough research, and for double checking and checking again. And I'd like to thank the committee for their commitment to get this right. We didn't just skate over the top of it. We were sure that it was important that people had clarity, that they knew what the result were, that we didn't go on perpetrating something that wasn't true. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this bill.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party votes called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
8 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 97, the noes are 23. The motion is agreed to.
Waitaki District Council Reserves and Other Lands Empowering Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. Call on Members' Order of the Day number 1.
Land Transport, admissibility of evidential breath tests, amendment.